I'm going to continue attempting to take down the walls with my trebuchets, and we'll see if that actually makes a difference. It's actually working quite well, although we're not really taking the walls down, which is bad. Hello and welcome back to our Ronin playthrough, and as you can see we have a pretty interesting situation on our hands. This army from the Southern Empire was attempting to besiege Odrisa Castle, and no doubt, as you may know, that is not something that I very much appreciate. Anyway, before we go in and do this battle, we do have 2 perk points to spend. One of them is in leadership, which is obviously going to be extremely good for us to do, although most of these are not exactly great, although authority is looking very nice, because that is going to give us that wonderful disorganized state duration reduction, and that is 20% of a decrease. And then otherwise we also have the heroic leader thing, which in my opinion is not that good, but it really depends on what you want. Troops in your formation cause 10% more morale penalty when they kill an enemy. So generally I would say that that is really good, but only if you are a part of a friendly vassal's army. I wouldn't say that it's actually that good if you're just going to be leading your own. So that's the reason why I say that authority is a little better, at least in my opinion. Otherwise we have scouting here finally reaching 150, and if your party has more than 50% cavalry you gain 10% sight range bonus, increase the party size limit by 5, or when fighting against bandit parties you have plus 5 battle morale and your party has 10% advantage in simulated battles against bandits. Both of these are pretty terrible, in my opinion. I don't think either one is that useful for a 150 skill level scouting perk choice, so I guess I'm just going to be taking the bandit advantage, because if your party has more than 50% cavalry, that's useful. But only if you're playing as the Khuzait, or maybe even the Aserai, very much depends. Maybe the Vlandians as well, but it's highly unlikely you're going to have an army of more than 50% cavalry. I mean, obviously it depends on what you're focusing on, but for the most part, most people, on average, are not going to have that many cavalry. So anyway, now that that is done, let's just take a quick look at the composition of our opponent's army here, and you can see that they actually have some pretty decent units, but most of them are not really going to be that much of a threat. As you can see right here, they don't have a huge amount of Palatine guards. They've only got 7 of those, and they are the highest level unit that they have the most of. Everything else is really nothing to worry about. Then of course we have our friend here who has a decent amount of people: veteran longbowmen, mounted longbowmen, Naginata riders, mounted fire archers indeed, as well as some vanguards, swordmasters, and various other high tier units. So we should be absolutely fine here, but I'm a little bit worried because I've actually just taken a quest to level up these borrowed troops. I've already leveled up 5 of them, and I can only hope that a number of them will survive the upcoming fight. And you can see here that we do have a pretty significant advantage. Now, I got here just in time. I actually decided to go all the way back to Tetsujin territory, mainly because what I wanted to do was I wanted to recruit more volunteers, and recruiting more volunteers is obviously something that my party leaders would very much like, because their armies are not maxed out. My army is not maxed out, and I really wanted to try and make a good go of things to try and, you know, give them an influx of troops so that they could level those up, and then they could become even more powerful and we could do even more things. Now, on the case of becoming more powerful, I actually did just get a castle awarded to me as well. I had about 55% of the vote, and I decided to support one of the other lords in a hope that I would not get it awarded to me, because I personally did not want it. It is extremely far away from our current position, and personally I feel like it is, well, it's basically fodder. I don't think it's actually going to be that useful for us, unfortunately, but we're going to try it and see what happens, because of course we do have improved garrison, so generally having improved garrison is definitely going to help me to at least support me a little bit in terms of my garrisoning that castle. but it is going to be very, very difficult to use in an efficient way, because if they attack without me having sufficient time, it doesn't matter whether I have the mod or not. You know, it's basically just going to be like, oh, you have a very small garrison? Well, too bad. We're going to come with, you know, 900 units in this army and completely murder you. That's also something that happens quite often. Anyway, as you can no doubt see right there, I just got shot in the face by a very large javelin. And obviously I don't have a shield, so couldn't do anything about that. Obviously, as I said in a previous episode, shields were definitely present in this time period, at least from where the Tetsujin faction are from. However, I've decided not to use one, mainly because I want to use a variety of different weapons. I am actually very much enjoying using my two-handed sword, and I'm also enjoying using a crossbow as well as a polearm. Unfortunately, I still haven't given myself a horse. That's also something that I wanted to do. I wanted to buy some better horse armor. If you recall, I actually said that in the previous episode, that I wanted to buy some high-tier horse armor, and I was hopeful that I'd be able to do that before actually beginning this episode. Unfortunately, because of the nature of this siege started when I was extremely far away. I was actually in, you know, relatively deep in Tetsujin territory, and I needed to rush back here as soon as possible. And Odrisa Castle, you know how many units it has in there now? It only has 17. Yeah, 17. And there were about 60 or 70 in there, maybe a little bit more because of the improved garrison recruiter. But yeah, that's pretty harsh to lose all of those in one fell swoop. Yeah, pretty bad. But of course, we were kind of expecting that, no? We were kind of expecting to be attacked. But yeah, I was really just hoping that it wouldn't be that soon that they would actually try to retaliate, because Onira is something that was just taken as well, and you would think that they would probably try and take that instead, because let's face it, taking a castle, that's not really that big a deal. I feel like taking a castle back is not a very big victory for them, if they were even able to pull it off. And instead, taking Onira back, that would have made much more sense, at least in my perspective here. But anyway, 84 renown, 52 influence, and 10 morale. That is always very, very nice to get. And we also helped this person regain a good amount of charm skill right there, and we're going to be letting these people go as well. At least we're just going to try and get as much experience as possible. That's basically what I'm doing this for. Just letting these people go is literally just for the experience, because I want to try and gain as many focus points as possible, as many attribute points as possible, so that I can make our transition into the late game as smooth as possible. That's pretty much all I want to do. Anyway, we have those borrowed troops. They're finally leveled up. All of them have leveled up, actually. We're going to send the troops back, and there you go. We gain a little bit of experience there and some money. We actually, it's a little bit touch and go here with our money situation, because you can see here that I only have 60,000. And generally, I would say that most of the time, if you're wanting to go into having ownership of a castle or 2 or 3, or in many cases a lot more than just that, then you're going to need quite a significant amount of cash. Now anyway, this is my other castle, by the way. I did not vote for myself in this particular vote. They decided completely against my will to give this to me, and as you can see, it is way out in the middle of nowhere, and it is, in my opinion, probably in one of the worst spots ever. Because here's the thing, if I want to go there from Odrisa Castle, where can I go? Well, I can go this way, just go along the river if I want to, and then I can eventually get there. Or I can go through Southern Empire territory, so I can go straight past Danustica and Lavinia Castle, and indeed Vostrum as well, and then across the bridge. Or I can go over here to Onira first, and then I can go up the road, and then round Phykeon, and then eventually get to Morinia Castle. So technically this is the safest route, going all the way around there, but it is going to take a very long time, because of course going into forests and things like that will slow you down quite a bit, especially with a large army. So I'm actually thinking at the moment that I will just leave Marinia Castle to the wolves at this point. I personally would not really want to do anything to it at the moment. I think it is probably kind of suicide mission, because you can already see that one of the villages is already being attacked, which is not very good. So that's obviously a bit of a problem. We are gaining a good amount of actually we're getting a good amount of cash right now. Why is that? Why is that actually happening right now? Income from parties. Marinia Castle is actually giving us a decent amount. It gives us 262. Oh, there we go. We actually took a whole bunch of them prisoner as well. Let me actually just take a quick look. All right. Oh, Regea. Regea herself was taken prisoner. Well, that's a pretty significant victory for us. And how is Odrisa Castle doing? Yes, as you can see, the garrison is significantly depleted. And I'm wondering, are we actually recruiting here? Yes, indeed we are, but it seems like, yeah, the recruiter is going to Mio right now, so that's actually very nice. Let's recruit prisoners over time, shall we? Because I think that's probably going to be a good idea. Let's go to the dungeon and manage the prisoners, because what I'd like to do is I'm basically just going to put all the rogues and the marauders and the imperials and the hired crossbowmen and so on and so forth. We're just going to put all of them in here, and I don't really care whether they're tier 5 or not, or whether they, whether they can actually be persuaded or not. At this point, I'm just chucking them all in there and just hoping that some of them stick. That's pretty much all I want, just to try and flesh out our defenses in this particular garrison, because us having a significant army come up to us right now and attack, that would be probably, again, one of the worst things that could possibly happen, and hopefully it's not going to. So yeah, you can see here that we're still getting some more units apparently in here. It doesn't say like that. It doesn't say that that's the case. I saw 10 apparently that it said that it recruited, but we still have just 32 in there, so I'm not entirely sure. But well, whatever the case, I'm going to be moving on. We're going to be moving on. I mean, Hanzo's army is right there, so it should be absolutely fine. And there you go. Oh, look at that. Our garrison recruiter of Odrisa Castle has returned with 39 troops. That's actually wonderful. That is fantastic. Okay, so this is what I was actually doing before I started the episode. I went over to Akuson, and we're attempting to, recruit some people from here. And I have 200... What? I actually have 217? Party capacity? That's actually insane. I had no idea that I had such a significant amount. But anyway, we're going to be giving ourselves a warhorse right here, and then hopefully we'll be able to get a better harness. Unfortunately, all these harnesses are pretty lightweight, not very good at all, and it seems like we're going to just have to go for the best one that we can currently get. I think we're probably going to have to either go to Onira to get one, because usually the Imperials have very good horse harnesses and saddles and things like that, so we'll probably have to go there. But I didn't really want to have to do that, if you know what I mean, because I personally prefer using only Tetsujin technology if I can help it. But otherwise, let's go over to Kyoten. It's been a while since we've been over there, so let's go and see what's going on. Obviously, Hanzo's army is now moving on from Odrisa Castle, so it may very well become much weaker as a result of his presence not being there any further. But there's not much I can do about it. Oh, Melion Castle has now been taken as well. What do you bet they give this to me too? No, they're not. Okay, well, that's actually fantastic. I did not want it. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're just going to vote for this guy, I guess. Actually, you know what? I'm going to vote for this guy instead, because it's going to give me insane amounts of charm skill, as you can see right there. Well, not even charm skill, but charm experience. That's basically all I want as a result of, participating in these votes. But also, the other guy was not going to lose the vote, so it makes sense to kind of balance out the relation points that you're also getting from these various places, because it just makes all the sense. If you just focus on one person in particular, then you're just going to get 100 relation with him over and over again. It's just not going to make any difference. But if you spread it out a little, that's really going to make a nice dent in people's loyalties and so on. So that's going to be quite nice for us. Otherwise, I'm probably going to be selling most of my armor here. I don't really see the point in really keeping too much more of it. And we're just going to kind of almost bankrupt this place. Not too much, because I would like to buy a little bit of food. As you can see, we're actually running out of food a little bit here. So I'm just going to buy the rest of their rare food goods. In other words, the beer and the wine and so on, and maybe a little bit more of the butter as well. And there we go. We still received 19,000, which is very nice. Now, I took a look at the smithy. We still don't have a Naginata. I'm actually wanting to buy one to see whether I can get the blade from it. Can I get the blade from it? Where is it? There's a Yari. That's not good enough. There's a long... yeah, there's a long spear, but that is basically it. That's not really going to help. Well, it's actually... yeah, long spear. Let's actually have a look at the length. Oh, no, the length is absolutely terrible in comparison to the Yari that I'm using. Okay, yeah, I was thinking that maybe I'd try and replace it or something like that, but it seems like what I'm using right now is pretty good. And otherwise, I'm using the Hurricane Blade, which is what I created myself in a prior episode. So I'm pretty happy with it, actually. But, oh yeah, I should probably check for saddles. Yep. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing here, and I have no idea why that is. Oh well, never mind. Okay, so it seems to me like I'm probably going to go over here and try and run a little bit of interference for our forces. I'd actually like to get into a battle that I end up surviving, if at all possible, because at this point I haven't really survived a battle in quite some time, and it's kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying to me, so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that. Well, something rather interesting happened. I wonder whether you can guess what it is. Well, just after I cut away previously, the clan that was given ownership over Onira defected. I think you can pretty much guess that that happened, obviously, because Onira was actually pretty well defended, and that's exactly what happened. So... yeah, actually kind of a bit weird, right? Yeah, kind of a bit weird. Oh well, never mind, I suppose it happens. But we now have some perk points to spend, and I also leveled up as well, so this is going to be quite nice for us. Unfortunately, these charm perks are, in my opinion, pretty awful, so it's not really anything I can do to choose between them. There's nothing really to be done about it. And otherwise, we do have two-handed that have leveled up as well. So troops in the formation you're leading gain 5 experience for each enemy you kill, and also all melee infantry troops in your party gain 5% more experience after battle. That seems pretty good, but I personally prefer this. I'm actually not sure whether this is going to actually work. I think Show of Strength might be still bugged. Let me actually just check that real quick. Alright, so I've checked a little bit of documentation on bannerlordperks.com, and apparently according to the website on version 1.5.5, both of these perks are somewhat unimplemented at the moment. The knockdown chance is not available on this version. It is actually working on 1.5.6, by the way, but just the one that I'm playing on, it is not working. And also Baptized in Blood, the 5 experience gain for each enemy killed, that is also not implemented on this version, and it, I believe, is also not implemented on 1.5.6 either. However, the other secondary effects are working, so in other words, 5% more XP after the battle for your melee infantry, and infantry troops being 20% cheaper to recruit. Both of those are working. So I'm going to go for Baptized in Blood, just purely for the fact that gaining 5% more experience after battle for all melee infantry is pretty good. And now the question is, what do we actually spend our attribute point and our focus point in? Well, that's the thing. I actually have no idea. I've been looking at this for the past few minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, probably riding skill, because I'd like to level that up reasonably fast, and we don't really have any additional focus points in that. I'd like to level up smithing as well, so it's kind of a little bit of a caught between a rock and a hard place, or in this case, a horse and a forge, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we have those, or we could do something with medicine. Obviously, we already have a surgeon, so it's not that necessary for us to do anything about that. And we also do bear in mind that we actually do want to get Veterans Respect eventually. We already have 6 in social skill, though, so it shouldn't be that easy to... well, I shall say it shouldn't be that difficult to level up leadership more than the cap that it shows here, at the very least. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to spend another point in vigor here, so we're a little bit more even now. It's kind of like a bit of a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none sort of situation here, unfortunately, at the moment. But it is going to get better over time. Just wait and see. Once we start fighting more and more and more, these skills are going to skyrocket very quickly indeed. Alright, so I think it's actually about time that we deal with the defector that actually handed Onira over on a silver platter to our opponents. And that means taking care of him personally. And, well, maybe once he's defeated, he'll maybe see the light and come back to join the Tetsujin, although I'm not entirely sure whether we even want him to come back at this point, because personally I feel like if he's already betrayed us once, it's just a matter of time before he does it again, which is very, very unfortunate. I actually would hope that the Tetsujin vassals would have stayed around and basically just stayed with their own faction, because I think that that's a lot more fun. I feel like it's a lot more cohesive, but obviously these things happen. Also, I think someone actually did mention that rebellions are not implemented just yet in this version of the game, because obviously I'm playing on 1.5.5, 1.5.6 is the new version, and I did not want to play a new series on the latest version, because then I'm a little bit worried that something like mod incompatibility is going to happen again to that version, and then I'm going to be in trouble. So that's the main reason why I didn't start playing on 1.5.6, even though I personally feel like it is the superior version. Of course it is. You know, it's just so much better, as they just all focus me down. Yes, unfortunate, isn't it? That always happens. Alright, so I'm trying something a little bit risky here. I'm basically going to try and take Onira back from the defecting faction. And now this is going to be very difficult for us, mainly because we have pretty much 0 engineering skill. I literally, well, I have 10. I actually have 10, which is not that bad, but it is pretty awful. So yeah, anyway, we did get to Steward 175. Morale bonus from having diverse food is doubled. That's pretty good. And otherwise, reduce food consumption of garrisons during siege by 10%, or reduce food consumption of parties during siege by 10%, and cost of upgrading units is decreased by 10%. Both of these are actually pretty good, but the cost of upgrading units being decreased and reduced food consumption of parties are both quartermaster bonuses, whereas only one of these is a quartermaster bonus and the other one is a governor bonus. And I personally don't really like anything to do with governors, because I'm never usually going to leave my player as a governor in a particular town. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to be taking the cost of upgrading units being decreased for the moment, and we're going to see what happens here. So yeah, we're actually building siege camps super fast. I think probably due to Nogand. I don't think anyone else has a significant amount of engineering skill, and we're actually gaining, look at that, we gained 5 skill points in engineering. I can't believe it. Like, what? How are we building this so incredibly fast? I have no idea, but we're gonna try to take this, and I think we might very well be lucky enough to maybe even build some trebuchets, because if we can build some trebuchets, we're going to gain even more engineering skill, and that is going to result in, well, even faster sieges in the next time that we try to do this. Okay, so this guy's trying to defend here. I'm probably just going to go in. I think we'll probably be okay. I mean, most of the enemy are just Imperials. They do have a... yeah, that's a bit problematic. They have a pretty large number of Tetsujin units. And I'm a bit scared of those, because I don't have a shield. So, generally, anytime I don't have a shield and I'm up against Tetsujin in any way, you can almost certainly assume that I'm going to either take insane amounts of damage, or I'm just going to die. You know, that is usually how it goes. Alright, so I'm going to literally... I'm going to continue attempting to take down the walls with my trebuchets, and we'll see if that actually makes a difference. It's actually working quite well, although we're not really taking the walls down, which is bad. I think they're going to start ganging up on us soon, which is problematic. Yes, as you can see. I think we would have been able to do it if we had slightly... Look at my engineering skill. Look at my engineering skill. It's almost 50. I'd like to get to 50, please. They're going to go in a minute. Yeah, unfortunate. Okay, they're going to go in just a second, so I'm going to have to make a move and go inside relatively quickly. Oh, what is this? Increases renown gain from battles by 50%? How can you say no to that? I don't know. Recruited troops start with bonus experience of 200 experience as well. That is really quite amazing. We are going to be taking that. Renown gain from battles increased by 50%. I mean, how can you say no? That's insane. Okay, so we're just going to go in there. As you can no doubt tell, we already reduced the garrison defenses by almost 50 units, just purely for the fact that we were able to destroy some of their catapults, which I very much like. I think that's very cool. And we now have siege towers up and running, and we also have trebuchets, of course. I'm actually wanting to see if I can maybe I can get on one of these and see if I can maybe do something with it. It's highly unlikely, just bear that in mind. It is super unlikely I'm going to be able to hit anything with this, because I personally feel like it is almost impossible. Let's see. I mean, see, now here's the main problem is I can't see. Is there any button that actually allows me to like, oh no, that selects everyone apparently. Oh, okay, good to know. Anyway, yes, there doesn't seem to be a button that lets me do that. So I guess we're just going to have to wait until these guys. Can you reload? Have they reloaded or not? I'm actually not sure about that. It seems like they haven't. Okay, so I'm gonna just leave them to it then, I guess, because it seems like they're not actually willing to get me any additional ammo for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't commanded them or anything like that, so I thought they would just continue to do their normal automated functions, but it seems like we don't even need to do that, because most of the enemy is being completely massacred by the amount of veteran longbowmen that we have in our army, which is, well, pretty cool in my opinion. But unfortunately, that also in turn means that I'm not able to level up my crossbow skill, which is actually the reason why I wanted to go into this siege in the first place, apart from being obviously able to take the town itself. But it would have been cool to level up my crossbow skill. There's someone over there, but I think they're moving. Yeah. They've moved on, unfortunately. So, yeah. Oh, battering ram is taking a battering. Yes, it certainly is. Okay, is there a murder hole up here? Yeah, there is indeed a murder hole. So we need to be a little bit careful about units up there, because they could throw a stone down there. They could throw something. Oh, they've opened up the gates. Okay, that's a huge error on their part, but I don't really mind, because it lets me get a little bit of two-handed weapon proficiency. A very small amount of two-handed weapon proficiency. You know, those times when I can get into a siege and not die immediately, that is pure bliss, because that means that I'm actually going to get some fun, you know, because even though this is still enjoyable, me being able to take something and, you know, convert it from the enemy side to our own, you know, that's all very well and good, but I like to get in there a little bit, you know. I like to do some damage and, you know, maybe shoot a couple of people in the face. But, well, the rewards are insane right now, mainly because of the leadership perk, as you can see right there. It's giving us an additional 18 renown. Absolutely insane. And we're also getting 63 influence and 12 morale. So that is all great. Now, we are going to be able to take a number of prisoners here. I'm going to take all of them. And I actually went over to Odrisa Castle and just dumped all of my prisoners in the dungeon there, because of course I have instructed my interrogators to start converting prisoners over to our side, and I believe that they can probably only do up to tier 3, I think. I'm not entirely sure if they take into account the trainer orders either, but whatever the case, it's going to at least bolster our ranks a little bit. Oh, fantastic. Look at this. This is exactly what I wanted to find. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Oh, that is amazing. And we also have these as well, which I'm already wearing, but I could probably give these to someone else that is, well, Andros actually. He's the only one that can wear these and make good use of them, unfortunately. Would have been nice to give it to one of our other people. And there's also, wow, these arrows are insane. Look at that. They literally sell for 68,000, or they have a value of 68,000. So this is an extremely rare item. And you could see here that if you were to use a bow, it would give you 6 piercing damage instead of the regular 4, because these ones are giving you 2 even, but there are some arrows that I've seen that are much more common that give you about 4 piercing. So that is, wow, that's pretty impressive. Anyway, we are now inside Odrisa. Odrisa. No. Onira. Yes. It might as well be. Let's face it. It might as well be. You know, it's all the same. Yes, they're all the same. Now that you think of me. I mean, if you think about it, they are all the same, basically. They're just a little bit different in name. But anyway, we're going to be selling a number of things here. Try and get a good amount of cash to bolster our little money situation, because I don't know whether you know, but I now have 3 fiefs under my command, and that is not anything due to me. I'm not voting for myself in any way, but these vassals are consistently voting for me for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why they're doing that, to be honest. I think that that is a huge mistake. But you can see here, Melion Castle is actually mine as well. I don't know why they gave it to me, but they did. So let me just go in here now and hopefully don't get a... Ooh, that was a little bit risky, actually. That was a little bit risky. I could have gotten caught there, and that would have been really bad. That would have been almost like a fatal mistake. But thankfully, I was able to get out of there just in time. Okay, there's a scythe, there's a Yari, there's one of these. That's all good. That's nice. And we are going to get some smithing skill as well. That's great. And we can also just do a little bit of charcoal right there. Okay, so I'm thinking, let's do something. Let's make some two-handed swords. And I'm going to just try and make the highest level sword that I can make. Just to, you know, just to boost my smithing skill as far as it can possibly go. So let's see if we can make that work. So something like this. Let's make it a little bit bigger, and then we can do this. And there we go. Okay, so that's going to be pretty good. We can make 3 of these before we run out of resources, which I think is pretty decent. So we're just going to literally call this sell sword, because it's just going to be sold. I'm not going to use it. As you can see, we only gained 5 skill points. Yes, not particularly good, is it? Okay, I'm going to try and change it to a two-handed only sword. Can I do that? Yeah, there we go. Two-handed only. I think this might actually make more of a difference. Let's actually try and make it a little bit bigger as well. Maybe that will make a difference to its cost. We can still make another 2 of these. So we're just going to call this monkey. Oh, that just came out. I just spelled monkey just completely randomly. But yes, monkey blade. I'm going to call it monkey blade now. Yeah. Look at that. You see that? That's the kind of blade I wanted to make. 50 skill points. Did I just gain 100? Wait a minute. Was that that's 100,000. I just literally gained 100,000 experience in smithing. And if I make another one, let's call it I don't even know. Let's call it wind rush. I have no idea. Let's call it something like that. And there you go. We gain another 26 skill points in smithing, 151,000 smithing experience. And that's it. That's all I can do. So there you go. We leveled up our smithing, and technically what I could do now is I could sell these for a large amount of money. As you can see, both of these will sell for 62,000 and 94,000 respectively. But I'm actually not going to do that, because that is fundamentally breaking the game, because smithing prices are still not balanced. So probably what I'll do is I'll either smelt them down, or I'll just sell them for a very small amount once the marketplace has no more money. And that's it. But the primary reason why I wanted to do this is so that I could level up my smithing skill and actually get to these later stages of development for it, because otherwise I'd never be able to get there. it would take me a huge amount of time to get there. So that's the reason why I wanted to do something like that, and it does make everything much easier for us. Okay, so smelting, there we go. All right, so we can either level up our control skill, or attribute, should I say, or we can level up our vigor. Personally, I feel like leveling up vigor is probably going to be better, because crossbow skill is the only thing that is determined by control, whereas vigor is determining my one-handed, two-handed, and indeed polearm proficiencies, and in my opinion that is just much more worth it. We're going to be spending another point in smithing as well, so that we can continue to have its learning rate be about ×3, which is pretty good in my opinion, and we are now going to be speccing into vigor. There we go. And we're also going to probably be spending our points in endurance a little bit as well, so that we all have 8 in vigor, control, and endurance. Obviously it doesn't update in real time, but once I go back into the character screen, you should see that vigor is now 8. Yes, indeed, it is indeed that, which is fantastic. And now we have a bunch of Southern Empire vassals that we may very well want to chase down. So I'll leave that for the next episode, potentially. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.